This is the fourth lesson of Unit 4 on statistics. In this lesson, we're going to be talking about measures of central tendency, which are mean, median, and mode. So I'm assuming you've heard these terms before, so I'm hoping that this will be a bit of a review. If not, that's fine. Just make sure you understand these concepts by the end of the note. So before we get into those specifically, we're going to look at a scenario. So there's two car salesmen, and they're competing for a mid-year bonus. The owner of the dealership wants to assess the better competitor. Okay, so we have to figure out who is going to be the better candidate here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check their averages. So you can see in this chart we have Matt and Jordan, and we can see how many sales they've made over the month. So in order to find an average, you should know this, but what we need to do is we need to add up all of the monthly sales and divide by the amount of monthly sales there are. So we're going to start with Matt. So we're going to add all his sales. So he has 16 plus 28 plus 32 plus 28 plus 26 plus 31. Okay, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 numbers, so we have to divide by 6. So if you were to take out your calculator and add all of those together and divide by 6, you would get 26.8. Okay, so on average, what this number is telling us is on average, Matt sells 26.8 cars. Okay, Jordan, on the other hand, again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to add up all of his totals. And there's also 6 totals there. And we're going to divide by 6. Okay, when we do that, I didn't leave myself a lot of room. Do it underneath. Add them all together, divide by 6. That tells us that on average, nope, wrong number. On average, Jordan sells 28.2 cars. Okay, so we can see that on average, Jordan does sell more cars than Matt. Okay, so the next thing we want to check out is the middle values. So in order to determine the middle values, what we're going to do for both Matt and Jordan is we're going to list out their sales in order, so smallest to greatest. So for Matt, his lowest is 16, 26, 28, 28, 31, and the most he sold is 32. And we'll just say, it doesn't tell us, but we'll just say maybe per day. Maybe they only work 6 days or something. Oh, that doesn't make any sense. They wouldn't sell 16 cars per day. Oh, this is over 6 months. That's what it is. So each of these represents a month. So this would be month 1, month 2, month 3, month 4, etc. Okay, so that's how many cars they sell per month. That makes more sense. So if we're looking at the middle values here, notice how we have 6 numbers, right? So the middle would be technically between these 2 numbers here. So in order to figure out what that middle value is, what we actually have to do is we have to take the average of those 2 numbers. So because those 2 numbers are the same, it's pretty obvious what our average will be, right? If we add both of these up and divide by 2, we're going to end up with 28. But I'm just going to show you that I'm doing that. So we would do 28 plus 28 divided by 2. So we're taking the average, and that's going to give us an average of 28. Okay, so on average, or sorry, not on average, the amount that Matt sells generally is 28. Okay, that's the middle value. For Jordan, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to list out his sales in order. So his lowest is 26, 26, 26, 26, 27, 30, and 34. So same thing, because we have 6 values here, in order to find the middle, we actually need to take the average of those 2 numbers. So for Jordan, we're taking 26 plus 27 and dividing that by 2, and that gives us 26.5. So the middle amount that Jordan sells is 26.5. The last thing we want to look at is consistency. So consistency is basically what we're looking for is how consistent are they? So do they sell the same amount of cars every single month, or does it really, really depend on the month? So in order to find this, all we're going to do is we're going to figure out what is most common amongst their sales. Okay, so what number comes up the most, essentially, is what we're looking for. So for Matt, we can see that for 2 months, he sold 28 cars. Okay, so generally that's kind of the number he sells. For Jordan, we can see that he typically sells 26 cars, right? Because we can see that come up 3 times. So maybe I'll just put in brackets. We see that twice, and we see that 3 times. Okay, so there's many different things that we would want to look at to figure out who is the better candidate. Because we can't just look at one measure, right? If we look at averages, we can see that Jordan sells more, right? But Matt's middle value is higher, and Matt typically has a higher consistent number. Okay, so there's a lot of different things we can look at to determine who would be the better candidate here. So what we've actually looked at in this example is these measures of tendency, this mean, median, and mode. So we're going to actually define those now. So like I said, there are 3 ways to find the common trend or common tendency for a set of data. So the mean is simply the average. So that's the first thing we calculated above. And the average is the sum of the values. Remember, sum is just the total of addition. The sum of the values in a list divided by the number of values in the list. Okay, so you add all those values together and divide by however many values there were. Okay, so that was the first thing we did. So let's do another example of this. So it says, Jessera is buying a house that will require a mortgage. The bank wants to know her monthly salary. She works on commission, so she must calculate her average salary. And if you're unaware, commission is just you get paid per item you sell. Okay, so those car salesmen would have been paid commission as well. So given her income for the last 6 months of the year, what is her average salary? So again, anytime we see that word average or mean, we know we have to add those together and divide by the amount of numbers there are. So we are calculating the mean here, which means we're adding these together. Plus 2985. Okay. So we're adding up all of those numbers, and there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them, so we are dividing by 6. Again, you're obviously going to want to take out your calculator, add all of those together, and divide by 6. You should get $3,730.83. So, on average, her salary is $3,730.83. Okay, so again, with those therefore statements, her average salary that amount. Okay, so this is a very useful tool to know kind of how to use. Okay, so there's another page to this note because we've only looked at mean, right? And we know that the note is on mean, median, and mode. So I will pull that up. So the second measure we're going to look at is median. Oops, graffiti. We're working with pink, I think. This one. Small. Okay, so median. So the median is the middle value when the data is ordered from least to greatest. Ordered least to greatest. And again, we've already done this, right? It asked us for that middle value in our first example. So in order to find the median, there's two options. So if there's an odd number of data, all we have to do is take the middle one. Take the middle number. Okay, so for example, so if we have 13 numbers, that means the 7th is the median. Okay, on the other hand, if there is not an even number, if there is an even number of data, which there was in our first example there, what we need to do is we need to average the two middle terms, okay, which is exactly what we did when we had 6 for our first example. Average the two middle terms, or, well, not terms, middle numbers. Okay, so that means we're going to add and divide by 2. Okay, just like we did. So let's do another example of this. So example 2, it says, find the median mark for each list of student grades. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is we need to list the numbers in ascending order from smallest to largest. Smallest to largest. Okay, so let's look at A here. So first let's start. So the lowest number that I see is a 54. I'm just going to cross it out because then I know that I'm not going to repeat the data or miss any numbers, right? The next highest is 62, then 64, 72, 76, 89, and 93. Okay, so now I've listed them in order. So now I need to look, is this an odd or an even number? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I know the middle is just going to be my 4th value. Okay, and the reason I know that's the middle, if I look to the left, there's 3 numbers. If I look to the right, there's 3 numbers. Okay, so the median here is 72. Median, actually I'm going to write it over here. The median is 72. And again, the median is just that middle number. Okay, so now let's do the second one. So the first thing we need to do is order them again. So our smallest here, it looks like, is 56. And then we have 62, 63, 62, 63, 67, 84, and 98. 67, 84, and 98. Okay, so now we have to count. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we have that even number. So what that means is we're going to have to take the average of the two middle terms. So the two middle terms there are 63 and 67. Remember, to take the average of something, you just have to add them together and divide by 2. So we have 63 plus 67 divided by 2, which means that our median is 65. Is our median. Okay, so that gave you the two examples from above. So A, just order the numbers, it's the middle term. B, find the average of the two middle terms. Okay, moving on to our last measure of central tendency, which is called mode. So mode is the value that occurs the most often. Occurs most often. So there can be no mode, as well as more than one mode. So we can have no mode at all, we can have one mode, or we can have multiple modes. So it depends how often numbers come up, right? So example 3 says, find the mode for each number in the list. So for A, I'm looking, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just looking to see, is there a number that comes up more than once? So I see 5 just once, 7 just once, 9 just once, 8, 6, 3, 4, and 10. So I don't see any of those numbers popping up more than once. So there is no mode here. Okay, because there's not the same number twice, basically. Okay, looking at B, again, I'm looking to see if there's multiple numbers that come up. So I can see there's a 30 there and a 30 there. I can also see that there's a 25 and a 25. And all three of those other numbers are different. So this one has two modes, right? So it has a mode of 20 and a mode of 30, right? Because both of those numbers come up multiple times, and they both come up just twice. Okay, example C. So again, we're looking, is there a number that's popping up more than once here? So this has a lot of data, so we're going to have to look through it carefully. So I see 79, 79, 79. I also see 63 and 63. Do I see any more 57s? No. 66. No. 83. No. 72, 69, 60. Okay. So I don't see any of those other ones multiple times. So although 63 comes up twice, because 79 comes up 3 times, that is our mode. So our mode here is 79. And that's because it comes up more times than the 63, okay? The only reason B was both is because they both came up 2 times. If I had another 25 there, then the mode would just be 25. Okay, last example of the note. The modes of the following set of data are 7 and 9. What must be the value of y? Okay, so it says the modes are both 7 and 9. So I'm going to start by just underlining or circling whatever you want to do, the 9s and the 7s. So if my modes are both 7 and 9, that means they have to have the same amount of those numbers. So I can see right now I have 2 9s and 1 7. Okay, I need to have 2 7s, right? Because they are both my mode. So that means y must equal 7, right? Because I need there to be 2 of them. All right, so this is the end of our note on mean, median, and mode.